Today is November 20th, 2019, and we're doing an interview with Ms. Waynne Paskins. Ms. Paskins, would you please state your name and spell it, please?
Yes, my name is Waynne, W-A-Y-N-N-E, Paskins.
And your date of birth?
I was born March 30th, 1943, in Rehoboth.
When you say you were born in Rehoboth, where in Rehoboth were you born?
I was born at home, pretty much where I live now, right off of Country Club Road. I have a twin brother, and both my twin brother and I were born at home. I do have an older brother who was born at BB Hospital, however, but my mother and father thought they needed a midwife to birth twins. So that's where we were born, right in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. So I'm a true native of Rehoboth Beach, Delaware.
And your mother's name?
Edna, her name was Edna Miller Harmon.
And your father's name?
Walter W.J. Harmon.
And your siblings' names?
My twin brother is Wardell, W-A-R-D-E-L-L, Harmon, and my older brother is Waymon, W-A-Y-M-O-N, Harmon.
What are your earliest memories of Rehoboth Beach?
My earliest memories are when my mom and dad worked. They would bring us in town. We always lived back where the Rehoboth Beach Country Club is now, and they would bring us in town to stay with a great aunt and uncle who lived in Rehoboth, what is now called West Rehoboth.
Where did your parents work?
My dad early on worked at Fort Miles, and my mother did days work around Rehoboth, as they say, on the beach. And later on, my mother got a full-time permanent job at what was then the Dinner Bell Inn on Christian Street in Rehoboth. She was a baker. And my dad worked for the Vessels Lumber Company and later for other construction companies.
Now, when you say church, which church was this?
It was then Mount Pleasant United Methodist Church, right on Church Street. It is now Faith United Methodist Church.
Can you characterize that church a little bit for me? Was it predominantly members of a few families or far and wide, people coming from far and wide?
It was at first, Mount Pleasant was at first pretty much, I guess, family churches, the Duffys, the Harmons. In fact, my great-grandfather was a trustee and started the church with other family members that were trustees. And it was families, and then during the summers, as we got older, we noticed that there were many people that were here for the summer that came to our church, and many of them started the various days that we had for a long time. There was a Florida Day, for instance. The people that came here to work from Florida would have a day, and the various locations would have days there, and we got to meet a lot of people that were not from Rehoboth at church during the summer.
I remember Ms. Pearson, Ms. Chick, talking about Virginia Day that was started by one of her teachers. I think.
Yes. It was started by a lady named Mrs. India Ramsey, I believe.
I think I would be asked to be put in the back of the choir if I did try myself.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about school days. Where did you go to school, and during what years? And
well, we started to school, I was born in 43, so I think I started to school in 1949. And it was the Rehoboth Elementary School 200C. and the C stood for colored. It was a DuPont school. As you know, the DuPont started the schools across the state for African American children. The school was located where the Rehoboth Beach YMCA is now, and the building still stands. It now belongs to the church as a church fellowship hall, but it is located on Route 1 as you're going toward Dewey by the bicycle shop.
By the All Wheels bicycle
By the
shop.
All Wheels bicycle shop, yes. And that is where we went to school from grades 1 through 6.
So the building itself got moved from where the Y is now on Church Street out to Route 1.
Right. Well, actually, once the the trustee board, of which my dad was a part of, had been asking for a new school. So the state finally said, okay. So they built where part of the Y building was the new school for African Americans. And soon after that, DSAG started, and that became a part of the Cape and Lopin School. No, actually, it became a part of Rehoboth School District, and then Cape and Lopin School District. So once they started building the new school, they gave the building to anyone who might want it, but that we had to be responsible for moving it. So our church said, yes, we'll take the building. I think for $1 they were selling those buildings, and they took it. And one of our church members had owned the land where the building is now. Actually, it was part of the Burton Village family that gave the land to the church.
And that was the land given for the church to put the old African American school on next to All Wheels. Was that the Burton family?
Yes.
Or part of the Burton family?
Part of the Burton family, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there is a cemetery there as well?
Yes, there is. Actually, the cemetery is where, before the Mount Pleasant Church was at the location where it is now, apparently there was a church there. That was Burton's church or something.
It had a different
name. With a name, yes. And that building was moved to the location where it is now, and it became Mount Pleasant, and the history follows, you know.
Right.
Yes.
And so when the portion of the YMCA structure was built
Mm-hmm.
to be a new African American school,
Right.
What years was that? How big was the building? Who attended?
I remember when we left 6th grade, we went to Jason, the William C. Jason Comprehensive High School, which is now part of Deltech, Delaware Technical and Community College. And so we did not attend, my brothers and I did not attend that building, that school. So it must have been around 70, no. Maybe about 1970, somewhere around there.
Okay, that's close.
Somewhere between 65 and 70.
And tell me a little bit, if you can remember 1st through 6th, who some of your teachers were and prominent classmates.
Oh, yes. Our teacher was the same for the length of time we were there, and that was Miss Priscilla Fountain from Milford. She was a member of the Fountain family that owned several businesses in Milford. And she was the teacher for many years for grades 1 through 6 in one room at the time. The school actually had 2 rooms, but she was the only teacher there for many years. And then we remember, I think we were probably in the 4th or 5th grade. Her sister-in-law came to teach grades 1 through 3, and she taught 4, 5, and 6.
Some of your classmates' names, did you go to school with your brothers?
I did. We were in the same room for at least until Mrs. Alfreda Fountain, her sister-in-law, came. So we must have been in 4th or 5th grade when she came. But my brothers and I were in the same room. And it was very interesting because we learned from the higher grades. We learned, and sometimes we would actually answer questions that were asked of the higher grades. My twin brother and I talk about that all the time, where we had answers to math problems or social studies questions that they may not have remembered or may not have known. It was very interesting. But some of my classmates were, I should say schoolmates, because we were in the same room. Reverend Marie Robinson, who spoke recently at our historical marker celebration, was there. Her sister, Sandra Lee Dean, and I were best friends. There was Robert Martin, and basically we were all cousins too. So, and there was Tony Harmon, Larry Harmon. They were all cousins of ours. Hurley Waples. He was older than we were, but at one point we were all in that same room together because it was grades 1 through 6. So, most everybody about my age that still live here or have moved away were classmates of ours.
Did the school at the Y have a name?
It was just Rehoboth Elementary. It stayed Rehoboth Elementary, 200C.
200C was the key.
Until
Okay,
DSEG, and then it became part of the Rehoboth Special School District, and then Cape and Lopin School District.
So when you went to William C. Jason, did most of the students follow along with you?
Yes. William C. Jason was the high school. There were 3 high school, well, I'm not sure about 3, but there were high schools built in each county in Delaware for African American students. Now, students from all over Sussex County went to Jason once they finished elementary school. But some of those schools, and for instance, the school in Georgetown went to maybe the 7th or 8th grade, so they did not come to Jason until 9th grade. And there were schools in the Frankfort and Millsboro area where the situation was the same. But for us, after 6th grade, we went to Jason. So we were at Jason from 7th grade through 12th grade.
I've talked about this with other folks, and I think to myself, how did you get there to Georgetown from here and from places far and wide across Sussex County? How did everyone converge onto Georgetown? How did you manage to get to school?
By bus. We were back in the day, we all went by bus. It took Georgetown was about 18, 20 miles from Rehoboth, so we had to get up early in the morning and meet the bus. The bus didn't pick us up at the various locations. We had one point in Rehoboth, which was on the corner actually where where Route 1 and Church Street is. That's where the bus would pick us up. We would all meet. We had a cousin, his name was James Waples, and he was a local minister at our church, but he also had a house right on the corner there where the Fulton Bank is now. And he had a little store off to the side next to the school, actually. And so we would all meet there and wait for the bus, and the bus would put us off there. And it was up to parents or kids to walk home once we got off the bus.
So when you weren't in school, what did you do in the evenings, on the weekends?
On the evenings, we had met people from all over, so we were constantly on the phone. We were, we had the old party lines back in the day, and one of my best friends at Jason was a young lady named Fern Sammons. Her last name is Bliss Morgan now, but she lived out in the country, out by Angola. And we became good friends, and so we would come home and talk for hours on the phone, doing homework, and then just talking and looking forward to the next day at school. We became part of the youth group at our church, so sometimes there were youth meetings. And if those of us who had jobs in the evening during school would work. I did not work in the evenings and when I was in high school or junior high school or high school, but many of the children from here did. But I mainly got home in time to help my mom with dinner and that type of thing.
You mentioned in your father's oral history about the dances on the boardwalk?
Yes. When we were, my twin brother and I remember it well, when we were, junior high, anywhere from junior high to high school, the town of Rehoboth, I believe, sponsored dances right in the center of the boardwalk. And I think that was like maybe once a week, or I'm not sure exactly when, but we would go down there and there would be kids from all over. There would be white kids, black kids, kids from all over dancing with each other. And it was a great time. Apparently, there were complaints and they eventually stopped that, but we had a good time. We had a good time. It was something similar to the dance shows, that bandstand, the dance shows that used to come on TV. It was pretty much similar to that.
Now, I also read in your father's oral history, he went to the movies at a time when African Americans had to sit in a separate part of the movie theater.
Right.
What was your experience with that?
Well, basically the same. We had to sit upstairs in the balcony, which were really the best seats in the house, I thought. Because sitting downstairs, you had to look over heads and people. But so we had to sit upstairs in the balcony, and at the time it was discriminatory, but I enjoyed it because I thought we had the best seats up there. And my dad, that's one thing I forgot. I'm glad you mentioned that. My dad was a moviegoer, and on Saturdays they would have matinees. And when we were young, I guess maybe 8, 9, 10, we would go to the movies in the afternoon on Saturdays. He would take us to the movies, and most of the movies were westerns, and we enjoyed that. I had almost forgotten that.
And the movie theater names were?
The Blue Hen Theater, the Center Theater, and the Avenue Theater.
So let's take a minute and talk a little bit about something you and I talked about before we started the interview, talking about race relations in the area.
Right.
I read your father's oral history,
Right.
and that was one period of time.
Right.
You were certainly a different period of time, but there may be similarities or maybe differences if you want to talk about that.
Right. Well, when we were in high school, let me go back. Before then, when we were younger, we stayed with an aunt and uncle in the area which is now West Rehoboth. It was not called West Rehoboth at the time. It was just the African American section. There were like a couple of African American sections, or where African Americans lived in Rehoboth. And that land, we were told many times, was sold to families, African American families, by a Mr. Charles Mills. And I'm not sure how big the lots were, but I remember he sold the land for, or we were told, for $100. And it was the start of that community over in what is now West Rehoboth. And it was a thriving community. Families knew everybody. At first, people got together for their own entertainment. I remember there was a group called the 400 Club, and I'm not sure where the name came from, but they would meet in homes, and they would play cards and play music, and that type of thing. And eventually they got their own, they built their own building down on Burton Avenue and I think Duffy Street on the corner there. And it was a place, it was like a community center. And so there would be birthday parties there. I remember my twin brother and I had our 16th birthday party there, and we thought we were really something. And we invited all our friends from the high school, and it was a good time. Eventually there was the Dewdrop Inn, which was like a tap room or beer joint, and that became that brought a lot of people in, and a lot of things that happened there. Fast cars, alcohol, that type of thing, music. Brought a lot of people in there, though. It changed the community. And then there was a lady that had a restaurant, a soul food restaurant, Edna Brown, and she had the best food, the best soul food, and that brought a lot of people in to get her food, soul food, greens, pig feet, chitlins, and that type of thing. So it was changing because it was bringing lots of different people in. It was no longer the community that it was when Mr. Mills first started it by selling the lots there. It was changing. More people were coming in. It was getting a little more riotous, and so when I grew up, we always lived right off of Country Club Road anyway, but we would go to our great aunt and uncles. Even once we were older, we would go there to check on them or to visit them, and that's when we realized that it was just changing, and things needed to be done to control some of the things that were going on there.
And that community is still changing.
Yes.
There are lots of newcomers who are even new to the area who are buying lots and building houses.
Yes.
There, and some local businesses are coming in.
Right.
That kind of thing. But there is a community center there?
There is the West Rehoboth Community Center, which was started by actually one of the ladies, Minnie Smith Burton, who is no longer, she doesn't live here, she lives with her son over in Maryland, was one of the members from the old 400 Club. That because after so many years, the 400 Club became the community center. And the kids would go there. This was when I was grown and had moved away. The kids would go there for like an after-school program or for dances, that type of thing. So she was one of the main ones that started the idea of a community center. And I think land was given, that land where the center is now was given by a family that lived there. and they receive grants from the county and that type of thing. And so the community center is there today. There's several after-school programs there, and it's used for the community.
You yourself in your personal life, do you have any experiences you want to mention?
Personal, well, I've been blessed. I got married shortly after high school, and then went to college. I had a daughter, and finished college, then had a son, and finally got a job teaching at Rehoboth Elementary School, which was then Rehoboth Special School District.
Yes, it was.
Before it
its own school
became
district.
Cape and Lopin School District.
And where did you go to college?
I went to Delaware State University, then it was Delaware State College. And I also, in later years, got my master's from the University of Delaware.
So you went to school at Rehoboth Elementary School, which was at that point integrated?
Yes, it was. And that was, I think, maybe 69.
Right when
Right when
the
it all...
schools were all integrated.
Mhm.
Wow.
I started as substituting and eventually was hired by, it was Rehoboth Special School District, and the superintendent / principal, I think, was Mr. Johnson. Don't remember his first name, but he was the grandfather or father of one of my neighbors, as it turned out, Juanita Quint. She's since passed, but he was the principal / superintendent, and the office was in the Rehoboth school, in the Rehoboth Elementary School.
So you came out of an elementary school, a high school, and a college that were just for African Americans, and went into teaching in a school right after integration.
Right.
I'm just curious as to what was that must have been a very interesting experience for you.
It was. As I said, you don't really learn to teach. Well, back then you really didn't learn to teach until you started teaching. That has all changed for education now, because they send those people who want to be teachers, those students who want to be teachers, they get a chance to go out early and to experience children of all ages in the elementary schools, which is very important. But it was, when I started teaching, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I thought I had something to give students. I thought I could help students learn, which I think I did, but there was a lot that I had to learn as well. When I started, there were people in the community who did not like the idea of African American teachers teaching their students, who were white students, of course. But one thing I forgot to mention, that when D. Seggs came, my teacher and Miss Priscilla Fountain and Mrs. Alfreda Fountain all got jobs at Rehoboth Elementary. Yes. And when it was Rehoboth Special School District. Also, I forgot to mention George Smith, who was later on the first African American mayor of Lewis, and I think that he might have been the first African American mayor in the first state, in the first city. Somehow they had that motto, but they all got jobs teaching at Rehoboth Elementary. Now, the Fountains moved on to teach in Milford because it was closer. Well, they lived in Milford, but George Smith retired from Rehoboth Elementary. So they were some of the first African American teachers there. I came after that. And there were people there who did not want us as African Americans to teach their kids. But I had good principals. I had Mrs. Vogel, and then Mr. Hurley, and lastly O.D. Basinski, who was just phenomenal and just a great principal. He gave many of us several opportunities to advance in teaching, and he believed that we were good teachers, and so when there were requests for when parents requested that their students be moved from our class, he very rarely moved the students. He stuck to his guns, and so it all worked out.
Let me step back in time for a second. I think you said your mother worked at the Dinner Bell.
Yes.
Did she
yes.
tell you a little bit about Miss Emmert? And also, I have read that in Rehoboth, African Americans had to be out of town by sundown. I've heard that. I don't know if that's a story or if it's true.
I don't remember that
Okay.
era, but I do, and I do remember. In fact, I worked at the Dinner Bell during the summers when I was teaching, and also I might have worked there between going to college and before I got my degree. But I did work there many summers as a wait person. And my mom baked there for many, many years, and her rolls were very famous. They were called Edna rolls. So they were very famous. My dad also worked there when we were kids, and he washed dishes there. So we kind of grew up at the Dinner Bell. And Mrs. Emmert and the Emmert family was like an extended family. Some of my summer jobs when I was a teenager was babysitting for the Emmerts.
Okay.
So we kind of were a family, and we still connect today. But my mother, once she got that full-time job, she was an excellent baker, excellent cook, but an excellent baker. And she stayed there for, I think, maybe over 30-some years. But she, we got along. She and Mrs. Emmert were, she was in the bake shop. She had her own bake shop. And that was where many people, the wait people, who at first were mainly white waitresses and waiters, would gather in the bake shop for a roll once they came out of the oven. And when there were different decisions or discussions to be made, they were largely made in the bake shop. Mom would be baking the rolls, or getting them ready to rise, to rise, and there would be salespeople that came in, and people that wanted to work there, and a lot of times all that business was done in the bake shop. Yeah, so it was. Again, we met several people there coming in and out of the bake shop, people that wanted to work. One of the things that I forgot to mention is when we were, I guess my brothers and we were about 10, my aunt and uncle who we stayed with they had roomers meaning people who came to the beach to work would room there. Now, at that time, there were many, many young African Americans, college students, that came to the beach to work. Some of them worked in private family, and they would live with those families. Others worked in the restaurants. One of the things that I remember when I was younger was that all the big hotels, the Carlton Hotel, the Rehoboth Beach Country Club, which was then right where the country club development is now, they had nothing but waiters, and most of the waiters were black waiters, and they'd be dressed in their black and white, and I remember that. And many of them would come from, as I said, the other out of the state, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida. We met many people that came from those areas just for the summer employment, and then they'd leave, right before, just after Labor Day. So it was. We met a lot of people that came here for the summer and to work here for the summer. We have a really good friend now. He's a white man that we met when my brother was working at the Stuart Kingston, and I was working at the Dinner Bell. And we met him and his family, and he's since married, and we're still friends today. So that's what happened.
When you went on the beach, if you even had time to go on the beach,
Right.
was it still segregated by choice or by design?
It was segregated. When we were younger kids, I remember my mom and my aunt took us. We were at the place down by the Stuart Kingston, which was called the Crow's Nest at the time, because that was where all the black people gathered. And usually on a Thursday, if you went down there on a Thursday, you would find many African Americans down there, because that was the day when, if you were working private family, you had the day off. Or if you worked in a hotel, you might have that day off. But many relationships started from that place on the beach called the Crow's Nest, where most of us met. When I got older, somewhere between high school and before I, in college, we would go down there mainly on Thursdays, and just to sit and talk and meet people. Sometimes there was music playing, but not a lot. But that's where we met people. And then my aunt and uncle, who we lived with, many of the college kids that came roomed with them, so we got to.
We have been told also that there was and this may obviously predate you, or you might have been so young you don't remember, and we do have a listing from the Green Book of the Mallory cabins.
Malloy.
In the book it says Mallory, but there is a listing for Malloy cabin.
Okay. If it's Mallory, I don't recall. Okay. I know Malloy cabins, Malloy cabins was just before the bridge. What is it now? It's just before you make that left turn off of Rehoboth Avenue extent. When you're coming into Rehoboth, and make a left on Church Street.
So it's just before
It's
that.
just before that.
So that may be the Shore Lodge now.
Okay.
It was a low building, I think two maybe 3 stories high. But was that for African Americans?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Malloy cabin.
Yes.
Okay.
Malloy,
And I've been told that it was run by 2 women. You may not know because you lived here, so you didn't pay attention to that.
Well, when I remember it, it was run by a husband and wife. Now I can't think of her name, and she's a relative of mine, but she had married a man named Malloy. But maybe before then, maybe her aunt or mother or somebody started it. Okay. I don't remember that, but I do know when I was old enough to remember it, she and her husband owned the business, and they lived in the center of there's a house there now on the property, which I think they built later, but they lived in the center. It came in like a V, and they lived in the center, but that's what I remember about it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I also know you're part of a very special group called the Sunshine Circle Club.
I am.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, my mother was one of the founders of the Sunshine Circle Club, and When I joined, there were, I think there were like 12 or 13 members. And when I joined, I thought I would come in and I was a different generation and I would change some things. But Stella Waples, who is Hurley Waples' wife, she was not from here. She was from Georgetown, but we were younger then, and we joined, and we thought, well, we'll bring some something new and different. But they had goals set. Their goals were to help the community, help the older people in the community, and help the young people. And they're basically our goals today. So it was started about 56 years ago, and it's still thriving, and we're still doing. Mainly, we're giving scholarships to young people today, but we also help with. We have dinners where we help with Thanksgiving dinners, and with the church, along with the church, we do Easter baskets for the seniors in the community, and whoever needs help, we try to help. I also with Sandra Nia, Sandra Burton Nia, who lives right outside of Lewis, and she went to our sister church, Israel United Methodist Church, and a Reverend Wallace. We during when the Dr. Martin Luther King holiday first, before it became a national holiday, we were celebrating it. And one of the things that we used to do on that day was to drive to Dover. That was the nearest celebration that we attended. And we thought, well, why are we doing that? Let's start one of our own. So we, together, along with the Sunshine Circle Club, decided that we do our own Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. So that started with that. Actually, Chick, Henrietta Pearson, was one of the first ones in the Sunshine Circle Club who decided that we should have a banquet in celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King once he was assassinated. So we all got together and decided that, yeah, it's really worth doing in Sussex County. So again, that's one of the things that we continue to do.
Any advice for younger generations?
I would suggest to them that they become involved with any part of what they feel they want to be involved with, and that I would also suggest that they learn about history, because I think it's true that when you know history, you are aware of what can happen, and you sometimes can prevent past events from happening, if certainly negative events from happening. So I would advise them to be involved, to serve. I think serving people, to volunteering is so important, and to just learn about history. It's so important. And they have to pass it on, like we're passing it on. They have to pass it on to generations, and their history is going to be entirely different from ours. Yes, yeah.
Well, I thank you so much for coming here today. It's been just a joy talking to you.
Well, thank you, Nancy. I'm glad you invited me, and I think what you're doing with the community for the museum is just fantastic, and I hope that we'll be able to do many more activities in the community and through the museum.
Well, if you didn't know Waynne before, you should know her now. Waynne, can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
It's a lot of talking.
It's so nice to have you here. I'm going to start with the chat room. We had, I actually received 2 emails this morning that I went ahead and put in even before they came to the show. One is from Peter Schott, who I think you may know. And his is Having Read West of Rehoboth. That was a book by Alex Pate, I believe.
Yes.
He wanted to know just how much of that was accurate, if you read it. And
Well, the book is classified as fiction. However, there were many there were parts in the story where some of us who lived during that era and who were in West Rehoboth can relate to. So I can't say how he wrote it. He was a nephew of Minnie Smith, however, Minnie Smith Burton, who was responsible for starting the West Side New Beginnings Center. But I cannot say.
yeah,
All I can say is that we remember some of the things that were written in the book.
yeah. Well, it was, he said that it was based on his experiences, but I mean, it was fiction. It was fiction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay. And another one from this morning, Denise said, you were involved in the local chapter of the national organization Up With People.
Of what? I'm sorry.
I'm not sure. I don't know whether there was some spell check or whatever. It says, you involved in the local chapter of the national organization Up With People? ? Lewis High School had Sing Out Sussex East in the late 60s and early 70s.
I think it was the Rehoboth Beach Young People Association, maybe.
Maybe.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Have a lot of hellos. And Pat says, I will be listening, have a 4-year-old granddaughter visiting, and anything can happen. Blessings. And then everybody asking me to turn up the audio. So we finally got that straightened out. And let's see what we have here. Hattie Bull is trying to get back. Oh, okay. All right. Janie Miller, thank you so much, Waynne, for tutoring my son Richard in 1987. Because of your help, he went on to graduate from college with honors, is now working with the autistic program at the Cape Henlopen School District. You are an awesome teacher.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Janie. Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
My teaching experience, the students really taught me a lot. What a great time we all had teaching. I see some of my former teachers that I taught with, and it was a great experience. And what can I say except that the parents were great, the kids were great, and I think all kids are good. There's times when they have difference of opinions from what we have, but we just had a great time. I enjoyed my teaching career, I think every person that I've come into contact with helped me to understand pretty much who I was and what my job was. So I appreciate what everyone has given me, and I appreciate all the people that I've been associated with: parents, students, children, my co-workers. Just had a great time.
Nancy Pfeiffer has her hand up. Nancy, did you want to make a comment?
Oh, Waynne, I'm sure you remember 2 students who I don't know if you finally separated them. My son John and Peter Weedman.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah, I think my son was in that same class.
Yes,
Probably, but
Yeah.
John and Peter were two terrors, I can say.
well, yes, we have fond memories of. In fact, Mrs. Stella Waples, and I were talking about them the other day, and yeah, we have very fond memories of John and Peter Weedman, and also Eddie Marge.
Yeah.
We have some good time. We have good times. I think
Well, I
as you
will be sure to
become,
tell John, because I told him about this today and he couldn't be, he couldn't be here. So he'll be pleased to hear that you still remember him.
oh yes, I remember him. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, well.
Thank you.
Um,
It's so
Thank
good
you.
to see you. You look beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. You all do too. I'm looking at everybody on the screen. You all do too. I see I see the Pierces who I babysat for also. I Carl. We were in I was in the babysitting business. So that was also that. And in fact, I think the babysitting when I was younger helped me to be the teacher that I became. So it's nice seeing you all.
Deborah Robinson.
And also the Martins. I'm sorry. Also the Martins. Hello.
There's probably everybody on here that you at one time or another had some sort of professional relationship, either through us or through our children.
Yes.
Waynne, Deborah Robinson says, thank you for sharing. We share similar experiences. I worked at Dinner Bell Inn one summer, and I remember your mom in the bake shop. I also worked at Kate Henlopen Hotel in the summer.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
most of these are just thank yous. There aren't any, no questions, just thank yous. Alicia Jones, yes, this is the time if you have a question.
Hi, Waynne. I have sort of two questions. One, when white parents didn't want to be taught by Black teachers, they removed them and started separate schools. So I wondered if that happened in this area. My second question, one of the arguments in the separate but equal was that Black students were supposedly getting an inferior education and also inferior supplies. So I wondered if you felt that your education, though segregated, was equal to the white students.
No, it was not equal. I've been reading the John Lewis book, Walking with the Wind, I think is the title. And we had hand-me-down books. We saw where in the books that there were other names that had used the books before us. But we had Miss Fountain, Priscilla Fountain, who I mentioned was the best teacher, and and also is largely responsible for all of us who left from Rehoboth Elementary, went to Jason, and went on to become teachers or whatever other professions we were in. But no, we did not have equal, separate but equal, certainly not of material. I think our teacher was great, but I remember we had the dental hygienist that would come to our school. And from then on, they would refer us to the state if we needed dental work done, or if we needed glasses and that type of thing. But I'm sure that it was not equal to the other schools.
The other question I had, did white parents withdraw their students, their kids from school and start all white schools?
Well, I don't know. I just know that there were requests that some of the students be taken from our classes when they found out that we were African-American teachers. And as I mentioned, we had admirable administrators who said, I'm not moving them. They're going to stay right where they are. So whether or not other ones withdrew their students and sent them to other schools or started other schools, probably, I'm just not aware of who they were or if they did, where they were sent or what schools they started.
I just want to add, you look beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, Alicia.
Okay, Bernice Edwards says, thank you, Waynne, for all you do for First State Community Action. Proud to report you have been with our after-school homework program for over 30 years.
Yeah, I did the after-school program at First State in West Rehoboth for kids who needed the extra help after school. And First State started that program there that long ago. I didn't realize it was that long ago, but that was a needed program. And we had several other people from the community that worked in that program, and some of the teachers actually from school that were both African-American and white teachers that worked in those programs to help those kids in the after-school program.
Marjorie Burns, thank you, Waynne, for sharing your life and Rehoboth history. Awesome job.
That's my minister. Ooh, thank you.
Always nice to have somebody like that pat you on the back, isn't it?
Right, right.
You're welcome, Waynne.
Leslie Slang, thank you, Waynne. So interesting hearing your story and the history of African Americans in Rehoboth. Alicia's first question is, oh, this is a comment from Marlene. Alicia's first question is part of the history of private schools in America, which I think is probably accurate. Yeah. And when did school integration come in Rehoboth? I think you answered that on the film. I can't remember. You said 1969, maybe?
1969 was when I started at Rehoboth Elementary.
Oh.
It was probably maybe 60. The last class at Jason was, which Janie Miller was a part of, it was 67. So I think in 68 was when it really started here in Rehoboth.
May I say something about that? I was in that first class, and actually we went there in 1967.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see Richard Wingate had Dick
Yeah.
Wingate.
Oh,
has his
Richard,
hand.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, I just wanted to say hi, Waynne.
Hi, Dick. How are you?
No, I was 16, I think, when I met you, and your mother's roles were great. People forget, and now Margie knows, but there were, Rehoboth integrated a small number of students way before 1967. Right. I was in second grade. Sheila Malloy, we're talking about the Malloy Hotel, was
Right.
in my class, and Parnell Biles was, and his sister, I don't remember who else. They were older than me, but Sheila, I went to school with her from second grade on. And it was kind of to see how things worked. But I think, unfortunately, my father was on the school board back then.
Right.
But I don't know that they took the Black children's feelings. They were worried about how we were going to mesh. But I don't imagine. I've always wondered how they managed to go one person in a class, in those
Right.
days. That must have been awfully, awfully tough.
Yeah, I think that tonight Margie Biles is going to talk about that, and somebody's having a Zoom tonight. Margie might want to tell us who it is and how we can get on, but she's gonna tell us her experience as one of the only Black students in a particular, the particular classes. You're right. Yes.
Yeah, Marjorie, could you tell us about that?
Is Don on here? Don Peters?
Don Peter was here earlier.
Okay.
Hi, I'm really happy to have this opportunity. Camp Rehoboth and the Southern Delaware Alliance for Racial Justice are sponsoring a program tonight called What Took So Long? School Integration in Sussex County. And that's at 6:30 tonight. And if you go to campforhoboth.com, you can register to be a part of that conversation. We're going to have Marjorie Biles will be one of the speakers, Diaz Bonville, and Charles Hammond, all of which were the first students, Black students, to integrate the schools in this area. We're also going to be hearing from a current student today who will be talking about what's changed and what still needs to be addressed. So Marjorie, thanks for the shout out and for talking about tonight's program.
And
Don,
Jerry,
Don, could I
I
ask
see
you?
Jerry. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to ask Don if you could you go into our chat and maybe put that website?
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Wayne, go ahead.
Jerry Williams, one of my teachers that I taught with for many, many years. I see she has her hand up.
Yes. I don't see, I see,
I think she's muted.
okay, she needs to unmute herself. Either that or hold down your space bar and you can talk.
Okay, I think am I unmuted now?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Yes, Jerry.
Okay, Wayne, it's so lovely to see you.
Yes, it's great to see you, Jerry.
And we did work together for many, many years. But I came to teach in Rehoboth at the Rehoboth Special School District in 1967 in September. And next door to me was George Smith. And in the classroom next to me. And he was such a big help to me in a lot of ways, especially when I said, I came from Wilmington, teaching in Wilmington, and we were doing home visits to students' homes at that time in the city of Wilmington. And it was sometimes an adventure. So I said to him, I had arranged some appointments for the students I had who lived in West Rehoboth to go visit at their homes. I went to a couple and had some wonderful, wonderful experiences. But when he found out that I was doing that, he said, oh, for heaven's sakes, don't go there without somebody to go with you. I said, why? He said, well, there's some unsavory characters out there. I said, well, I didn't meet them. I did not meet them. He did tell me this story that I want to share with you, when he said that when Rehoboth integrated with 200C, which was apparently just not a couple of years before that, that Mrs. Vogel, who was the principal at the time, put or assigned the African-American teachers, the two fountains, to the third grade. And any student who was in the third grade had an African-American teacher, like it or lump it. So that was his story to me. I, however, never met with any of that kind of issue. I had a wonderful experience teaching in Rehoboth until I retired after 40 years at 2004.
Great.
There you go. And a lot of that time was with you as a coworker, and with Stell Selby and with George Smith as coworkers. And of course, Stell Waples, who kept us all straight.
Yes. Yeah. And I see a young man.
Mandy Sternfeld has had her hand up, and then Deborah Robinson has her hand up. I couldn't see Jerry's before because it was on my computer. It was blending into the wall. But Mandy, maybe first.
Hi, Ms. Paskins.
Hi, Mandy. How are you?
Good. It's great to see you. It's very interesting hearing about your history. And I just want to make sure that as a former student, I add in how many old Rehoboth kids you influenced over the years. I remember my brother had you one year and I had you for third grade, and I wished and hoped that you would be my teacher after he had you. And at the time, I don't know if everyone remembers, but they used to post the class list on the doors at Rehoboth Elementary, and we'd ride by and go by all the time to see who the teachers were. And I was so thrilled when you were my teacher. And to this day, whenever anyone says, who's your favorite teacher, I always say your name without any hesitation. I just remember how incredibly kind you were to everyone and thoughtful, and just lots and lots of fun. Always stylish, always sassy. We knew to stay in line in your class. But we had so much fun. And I know that, many, many other kids through the years feel the exact same way. It amazes me to hear that, at a time there were parents who asked to be changed out of your class, because if I could guess, my parents probably asked for me to be put into your class, because everyone knew that you were one of the very best teachers in Rehoboth and loved all of your students. And again, I appreciate everything and remember all your kindness. And I'm very happy to see this today.
Well, thank you. It's so nice to hear from you. For some reason, I can't see everybody on my iPad screen, but
Yeah, well,
I
there's
don't know.
actually 3 pages, Wayne, that you can go through to see everybody. You have to, if you can find the arrow, you can, and not everybody is showing their pictures either. They're not
Right.
whatever, but Deborah
I wish I
Robinson.
had some of my students here now to help me with this technical stuff.
Deborah Robinson.
But
Hi,
thank
Wayne.
you.
How are you, Wayne? I'm so happy
Hi.
to see you. I just wanted to say that, first of all, Lewis is doing a similar program in Life in Lewis tonight at 6 o'clock. And it's sponsored by the African American Historical Commission. And I happen to be one of the panelists. I was born in Lewis and spent my summers there. I went to school there for a while, next door neighbor to George Smith. So I have a similar perspective. I went to that separate but equal school and had, I can only affirm many of the things you said. Of course, we had 3 teachers in the school and hand-me-down supplies as well. And but we did learn so much because our teachers were so dedicated to making sure that we got quality information and quality education. And because they had so much less, they had to do so much more with it. So I do appreciate you sharing all of the things that we had to deal with and let people know how far we've come. And but we still have a long way to go. So all I want to do is say thank you. And I appreciate this opportunity to hear from someone else who has had the same things that we had to go through. Thank you. That's it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Nice hearing from you. Yes. Thank you.
Hello. This is Hattie Bull. I got kicked out, so I had to call on my phone. I just want to say one thing. Thank you, Waynne Paskins, for being who you are and to know you all the years that I have known you and the influence that you have been on my life and the dedication for anything, because whatever Waynne does, she gives 250%. So I just want to say thank you. And I thoroughly enjoyed what I heard up until the point that I got kicked out, couldn't get back on. So I called in over on my phone. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Wayne,
you.
I have a question from Joan Churchill. Where is West Rehoboth?
West Rehoboth is, I don't think it's really West Rehoboth. It's what is there now?
Somebody else, Peter was suggested as a reference point is the car wash.
Yes.
On Rehoboth
right
as you walk in.
The car wash. There are now several, there's now a couple of entrances to what we refer to as West Rehoboth, because you can also come from the beach and get into West Rehoboth. But that's where it is. As I said, when I was young and growing up there, it was not West Rehoboth, it was Rehoboth, and it was one of the sections where many of the African-American students were, African-American families lived. But somehow it got the name of West Rehoboth.
Was that term even
So-
used at all in relationship
Part-
to, was that term even used when you were growing up for any area in Rehoboth, West Rehoboth?
No, no, and it wasn't used for a lot of other places where African Americans live in Sussex County, but now there's a West, maybe Seaford or a West. So I'm not sure
Okay.
whether the directions are really because they're west of wherever, but that's seems to be one of the things that labeled that we were labeled with if we were a Black community in Sussex County.
Sounds interesting. I have a question. I've gone through pretty much, and I'm going to save these this whole chat and send it to you, Waynne, because a lot of it is just wonderful. All the wonderful things to say about you that everybody wants you to know how much they appreciate you, etc. But I had done a little research, and I don't know if this was your time or not, but in reading the Green Book, I found out about Rosedale Beach. Was that during your youth? Did you go there as a youngster?
Oh yes.
Did you?
I went there as a young person that probably shouldn't have been there at the time, but then I grew older and it was okay to be there. But yes, Rosedale, wow. I'm sure that many people who during my era remember Rosedale and remember it well. There were that's where we saw James Brown and Ray Charles and all those great
Stevie Wonder.
and yes, Stevie Wonder was one of the last ones. Patti LaBelle, she was Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells, and I'm sure everybody remembers the Rosedale Beach. Yes.
It's out. Is it out in Millsboro area? Was that where it was, or Angola, or?
I can't remember. What is it called now? Someone.
It was taken over by development, wasn't it?
Yes, but it has a name.
Gull Point?
Yes,
Gull Point. Yes. Yeah. Gull Point.
Okay.
Hero Orchard's the best way to describe it.
Yes. Yeah, it was right there. It was a place where, and I'm not sure, my dad told me of how it got started, and it had other names before it was Rosedale, but you could go fish there, crab there. They had a deck there. There was that fabulous hotel there, and there were all these things. It was a part of the Chitlin circuit. If you don't know what that is, that maybe that somebody can talk about that on another.
Maybe we need to do a program on that.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I would say so. May I say that the Thompson is that? Hey, there's a Robert Thompson that.
Yes, that's Robert Thompson. It sure is.
Yes.
He's down in the warm Florida. He's down in Florida right now.
Oh, okay. Hi. But go ahead.
Robert, unmute yourself. You're muted.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, Waynne, it's nice to meet you. I transcribed your oral history and worked on putting the pictures in and some other things. So it's wonderful that we've, thanks to you, made this all happen. So I think it's a great thing.
Thanks for making me look good.
That's not hard to do. And I spoke to my good friend Roy Anderson the other day, and he is the one that recommended you for an oral history, and he said to send you his love.
Well, tell him, yes, sing back to him. Yes. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
For those of you who don't know, Robert Thompson works at the museum, and he is very active and he does most of the transcribing the oral histories, helping to put them together and helping to edit them. So we very much appreciate what he does. He does an excellent job. So, okay, any other questions, any thoughts? I can't see any hands. And as I said, I could go through all these wonderful testaments to Waynne, but I think I will just send them to her later. And I hope everybody's enjoyed everything. Waynne, I can't thank you enough for being with us here today. Is there any last words of wisdom you'd like to?
Well, I'd just like to say that thanks to everyone. There's certainly many more stories that I'm sure, Marge, that that certainly the Historical Society and that the museum, well, the oral histories that you have. But thank you for having me tell my story. And I'm just, it takes everybody to make this thing work. It takes everyone, tall, short, black, white, red, green. It takes everyone to make this world work. And I just hope that we remember to practice some of the Kwanzaa principles. And the first one is unity. We have to work together, all of us. It takes all of us to make this thing work. And I just appreciate all of you, my former co-workers, my students, my community people. You all have been, whatever I am at this point, it's you all have played a part in it, and I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well said.
Thank you.
Well said. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. And I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I had it, Waynne, here too.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye,
Take
everyone.
care and be safe.
Bye-bye.